Welcome to Business Coaching Secrets with Karl Bryan. If you want to attract new high-end coaching clients, fill live events, and build a wildly profitable coaching practice where business owners pay, stay, and refer, you've come to the right place. In this podcast, Karl provides his keys to the kingdom for finding and signing high-paying clients and building the coaching business of your dreams. Here we go.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Business Coaching Secrets. It is your boy Road Dog here, aka Christian. Wait a minute, that's backwards. And the man on top of the hill. I won't screw this one up, Karl Bryan.
How are you, Road Dog? What's going on there, my brother?
Well, what's going on is apparently I'm just screwing up my own name because now you've called me Road Dog for so long. Now that's my name now, and then my nickname is now my actual name. I don't even know. Like all of a sudden,
We get your birth certificate changed, man.
It's a gong show. All right, man. I've got some very, very, very interesting questions here today. You want to dive right in?
I do, bud. Let's go.
All right. So the first one here, this one's pretty interesting because, again, as everybody listening to this, if you're not subscribed to Karl's emails, if you haven't checked out Six Figure Coach magazine, this guy is everywhere, right? Like it's unbelievable. So the question here was, you get your emails out to over 250,000 people per week, and that is a true story. How do I get attention like that online?
How do you get attention like that? All right. And I would say that Grant Cardone and Gary Vaynerchuk are the boys that are everywhere, but appreciate the kudos there, my boy Road Dog. But here it is, guys. First of all, buy a hell of a lot of advertising, which is exactly what I have done. Most people poo-poo away from that. You should not. Turning advertising into profit is literally a superpower. Once you work that out, you can put a cape on, and there's literally no limitation to the size of the business that you can grow. And also think about your coaching clients. Again, most people hear advertising, and it's a little bit like salesperson. Don't think I would encourage you to not think like that. Frank Kern used to nobody spent more money on advertising online than Frank Kern. And he's one of the bad boys of the space, right? Like what he managed to do is impressive. So if you want to get attention out there, look, don't be shy to buy advertising. Don't try to get the attention of everyone. No doubt you've heard this in multiple different variation and forms over the years, but you want to get the attention of a select few, not the many. Okay, it's like business coaches is my niche. That's who I advertise to. If you see any of my promotions, it's going to say business coach very close to the top. If I write an email or a blog post where I want to get the attention of my audience, it's going to say attention business coaches. But then ironically, what happens is the accountants, the business brokers, the bookkeepers, the guys who own magazines and sell advertising and whatnot, they tend to find me and then follow me. But my niche is business coaches. So what I used to always say, I think this is Dan Kenny that used to say it, but I used to say it a lot, where when you own one space, they'll literally take a crown and stick it on your head in another, right? An example of that is I used to do, so with my coaching company, I used to run 3 big live events per year, right? So I had coaches ripping around all over the place. They were selling business coaching programs, and as part of that business coaching program, they got 12 tickets each, where they could go to one of 3 events. Might have been 4, actually, but it doesn't matter. One was leadership, one was 101 sales secrets, and then the other 2. But when we did leadership, I hired a leadership guy to come in, and it was good, and everybody was happy. But then the next time around, we were looking for somebody different, and my coaches literally said, Karl, like, the guy who needs to do this is you, right? Like, you need to do leadership. But I'm like, guys, I'm not. I'm more a sales and marketing guy. I'm not really a leadership guy. And they're like, no, that is exactly who you are. That's why we're on board with you. That's why you're, the guy leading our charge. What I'm getting at is they took a crown, shoved it on my head in leadership, which was not my space. My way of saying that if you get a lot of attention and you go, an inch wide and a mile deep, you'll find that you'll end up getting those other industries and those synergistic industries following you anyways. But I think that's really relevant here because, again, ultimately what you're looking for is a big following. Do understand that online, it's like a long-term play. If you want to play the 30, 60-day game and you want to do it with social media, you're probably not going to have a lot of success. If you need to earn income and you need to get coaching clients immediately, there's a thing called the phone, and you just pick the damn thing up and go. Because ultimately, every play, like when you go online through social media, don't ever try sell a coaching program over the internet. Okay, don't do it. It is always designed to drive people to a 15-minute or a 30-minute phone call. Okay, absolutely. You take them, from online to offline. That needs to be your strategy because you sell coaching one-to-one, right? And yeah, you can say, oh, Frank Kern or this guy, that guy sold it online, but you're probably, I'd be amazed if you're Frank Kern, right? So, like, you know what I mean? You've got to accept the fact that you sell coaching one-to-one. That's the bottom line. You've really got, you've got to create a list, right? Like, again, you want to take them offline, and then that 15-minute call, 30-minute call, if they don't take to that, okay, don't give up, right? The worst number in business is 1. Don't try something once and then give up. You've really got to come at these guys. They say that you got to make contact with them 8 to 22 times, live somewhere in the middle of that, but certainly 8 to be able to get their attention. And always remember online to simplify it, because I know it can be kind of an overwhelming topic for some and a very sexy, somewhat delusional in many ways, but a very sexy topic. There's 2 ways to get attention online. No, 2 ways to provide value to your audience online: education, entertainment. And then if you can combine the 2, you're onto a bit of a home run, right? So that would be like if you watch Gary Vaynerchuk, he's got a very entertaining way about him, right? I write a lot of emails. Obviously, when I write them, I try to be a little bit entertaining. And no doubt, some people think I'm hilarious, and then other people absolutely think I'm a dickhead. And for some reason, they always want to tell me, which is totally fine. But I know that if I'm pissing somebody off, that there's probably somebody out there going, ha, 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 that's hilarious, right? So if you're getting vanilla response, no response, this is probably a bigger problem than getting told you're a bit of a dickhead once in a while. So what else would I say? You just, ask questions. If you want to get engagement, like if you want to double your engagement, in other words, like people commenting and sharing your material, triple your activity. I find this to be a huge mistake that people make online, like as though, like they want everybody to engage and respond to them, and then they don't want to respond and engage with others, right? Like think about the logic behind that, right? Like, give to receive. So give significantly more than you expect to receive, and you'll probably end up with a decent roadmap. And do understand that there's an element of social proof here. So when I go to if you go to my Facebook page right now, you'll see like a post that I put up recently, and I've got, I don't know what it is, but it's very close to 100 comments. I know for a fact when people go to my profile and they see that, there's an element of social proof where they go, well, this guy's a bit of an influencer. Like this guy's got a following. When he says something, people respond. Good, bad, indifferent, doesn't matter. You want to build that up. But do you think the first time I put a post up that I got 100 people responding? Absolutely not. So thinking about that, that's how you go about getting, that volume of people. And I've been at it. I've been pounding, like my magazine. I don't know how long I've had it now. The money I've spent on that bad boy would make your eyes water. But it's a number of years. I'm going to guess 3 or 4 years, right? And I would have never dreamt that, well, actually, no, it's not that I wouldn't have dreamt. Like, I mean, when we started, it was always a long-term play, and it's the kind of thing that's not going anywhere. But I've had some ups and downs, and believe me, I wouldn't have dreamt that I would have spent the money that I needed to spend in order to get it to the point where it's going downhill, if that makes sense, right? Because it wasn't something that just magically appeared. I also hadn't, I was the airplane at 10,000 feet, so it's not like I could drop everything and all of a sudden do the magazine. That just wasn't my reality because I've got, so many clients around the world. So anyways, but I had to dig in. So long-term play, so Road Dog, that's how I'd answer that one. But I started with, don't be shy to if you can buy advertising and turn it into profit, this is a superpower, and you put a cape on and there's no limit to where you can go. And that's what the big boys do that I think that other people don't want to admit. You just want to do it all through just social activity. So there you go, brother.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And so, okay, because the next question is mistakes business coaches make online. And before you even go there, because I know where you go with these.
Yeah.
Being controversial, like I was going to also say, the only people that don't like you that are calling you out, if you will, are all these people that just think they can manifest success without actually doing the work.
Yeah.
AKA The Secret. The secret is picking up the phone. It's magical. But being controversial, but I think that's an interesting one, because like what would you say are some of the mistakes business coaches, specifically business coaches, are making online?
Some of the mistakes. Okay, so look. Okay, number one mistake, and I've actually written about this in emails. In fact, I used to run a I can't remember the name of it now, but like basically just how to make, as a business coach, how to get your name out there online and how to sell coaching online. And I started it with the number one mistake that coaches make online. And this is going back, and I don't know, it was 10 years ago. And the same mistake then is the same mistake now. Don't spend all your time like in other like groups with other coaches. There's absolutely a place for you to spend time in groups with other coaches and to learn from your peers. But you should be spending 20% of your time in the coaching groups and 80% of your time in groups with your target audience. Go add value to business owners. Go speak to business owners. Like and comment on their posts as opposed to other coaches' posts, right? So that's mistake number one, and don't make that one. So think of it as 80-20. I'll tell you, Bloomberg just recently spent $500 million in 90 days, no less. Think about that, right? So why didn't it work? And he basically used an online strategy and thought it was going to go to the moon. And I can tell you, I watched it was unfolding. I'm like, I can't believe he's spending $500 million and making this stupid mistake. He was not front and center, right? Like you never actually saw him online. The only time you saw Bloomberg is when he was getting his butt handed to him from Elizabeth Warren on a stage with a kind of silly look on his face, like, oh my God, like he looked like a billionaire that wanted to just walk off the stage and tell them all to go get nicked. And by the way, I would have really liked to see Bloomberg win. But what he did is he didn't put himself front and center. He spent all that money online and you didn't see his face. And if you would have, you would have felt like you got to know him a little bit more, and he would have been in an environment that he controlled, not an environment that somebody else controlled, which was that debate stage. So if he would have been front and center, and all that money would have been spent with his sound clips and his face and him talking, you would have forgiven him when he was on stage and looked a little bit disheveled and kind of got his butt handed to him a little bit by the other his colleagues coming after him. So that's the mistake that he made. So how do you learn from that? You need to get your head out there. If you want to hide behind memes and Facebook posts, go Facebook Live. Get your head out there. Get your picture out there. Very, very important. Another mistake is just, Road Dog, you kind of asked it when you're asking the question, but you got to be contrarian. Okay, if I want to get an engagement with 100 comments and whatnot, I don't go and agree with everybody. Like that's not well. And you can do that, and I'm not saying that you have to stage everything, but I can tell you that being contrarian and standing against things is going to get you significantly further as far as attention goes than standing for. Also, I've said this on different posts because, again, this isn't a new one, but short responses I find work really, really cool, like really, really well, I mean. So, like, if you write something and I think it's, like, spot on, I'll just go, the end, period, right? So, that tends to bring people towards me. They read that. It's a bit of an arrogant response, and it'll bring people to you. The other way to do it is long-form posts, again, but here's the thing, pre-populate it. Like, again, like if you're the king or queen of joint ventures, well, go write 3 really great posts about joint ventures. And then when somebody makes a remark or a comment where that would be an appropriate response, just copy paste it from a Word document, adjust the beginning a little bit to make it relevant, answering the person's question and maybe mention their name. And then you've got this really long form post that they've got to read. This will get you a lot of attention. It'll get you engagement. It'll get you people reaching out to you. It'll get people copying and paste and commenting with other people's names. But the mistake coaches make is that they're typing all this stuff out one by one, right? Like, not the way that I'd be doing it. So that's what there's a bunch of other mistakes. Spending too much damn time farting around. Set a clock, right? Like, again, I'm like, every day, my day is broken up into 4 quarters, right? So again, in exactly 33 minutes from now, my alarm will go off and it's quarter time for my day, right? So if I'm going to get online and I'm going to spend time on social media as a strategy, when I start, there's going to be a bell to go off in 30 minutes, or at least this is a way that you could do it effectively. Don't spend too much time farting around. Set a guideline, 30 minutes, and when the 30-minute bell goes off, you get the hell out of there. What you'll find, not only will you only spend 30 minutes, but knowing that you got the counter, the countdown clock going, you'll be significantly more efficient whilst on social media. So spending too much time farting around. Actually, here's another one too. People tell me all the time that social media is depressing, or social media is this, that, the other. I find my Facebook time to be incredibly rewarding, but the simple reason that I follow like-minded people and I just follow rock stars. And when they post, quite frankly, they got unbelievable information to put out there. So like when I go and spend 30 minutes on social media, it'd be very hard for me not to walk away and have learned something. And if somebody's there, moaning about the coronavirus or moaning about this, that, and the other, I'm just flipping straight by. And if I see a trend there with an individual, I just click their profile, unfriend, smell you later. Somebody's fighting with their wife or their whatever, and they want to, you know what I mean? Like, and again, everybody's been guilty of whatever. So it's not like first offense and I'm catch you later. But if there's any semblance of a trend there, it's smell you later time. So don't follow negative people. And these include people that are close to you, right? It's no big deal, right? It's just, you don't need to friend, you don't need to follow. And most certainly just scroll past that post and move on to stuff that you're looking for, positive and stuff that you could learn. And again, make sure you're following and you're friends with your target audience, right? Again, mistake number 1 is just spending time in groups and then having all the friends that are your, in some way, shape, or form competitors as opposed to your target audience. So those are the mistakes that I see online, brother.
So just to add to that, you talk about following just the right people. It's, as we've all heard, you are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with, blah, blah, blah. Listen, the way that I think people need to start looking at social media, stop saying social media and start saying business media.
Yeah, there you go.
Follow absolutely everybody that you can, and only the people that you can learn from. Like that's it. Like you are not there. Like put the phone down. Like when I'm out for a run and I see, like I'm running by a park and I see everybody's got their face down on their phone. Come on, man. Like it's business media. Like it drives me nuts. And then Karl, to your point of copying and pasting, another idea might be, look, you got a great article about, say, you're talking about JVs. Maybe you put in a comment and say, hey, you know what? I actually wrote a pretty detailed article on exactly how to do that on my Facebook group or on my blog. And here's a link to it. Go and check it out. Right. Another way to build up some other following. Just an idea there. And,
and lastly, if they start it, I like that. But if they start it with the mistake that most make is X, Y, Z. Yep. So here's what I recommend, or here's my 5-step methodology. Here's 5 steps that I encourage you to follow. So start with the contrarian, here's the mistake, and then go from there. It'll get more attention.
Maybe you start with, here's mistake 1. Hey, by the way, I've got 4 others. Go to my blog and check it out.
Boom. Kaboom. There you go.
So,
yes.
And by the way, Bloomberg spending $500 million. You realize he could have just given every single American $1 million each and probably won the election, right?
I know.
Like
Crazy, brother.
the population, he could have literally given every citizen $1 million. But anyways, all right.
Yeah. Good point, actually.
Good.
That's a good strategy, bro. Oh my God. Good work.
Okay, so
Anyway.
you're talking a little bit about, perfect example, Bloomberg, right? So building not just like you're building a brand, because that ties into the next question here. Do you believe in building a brand with your coaching business? And I'm pretty sure you're about to say yes, but let's hear it straight from the horse's mouth.
So the answer is yes. So, well, okay, let's define. Okay, just read me the question again. Make sure I get it.
Do you believe in building a brand with your coaching business?
Okay. So the answer is yes. I mean, but here, before you start that, I think that most people don't understand what the hell a brand is, quite frankly. And it's think of it this way from now on. This will make it really easy for you. Brand equals reputation. The end. Okay? So don't get all caught up in, building the brand and the sexiest web page and the sexiest this and the sexiest that, right? The guys that I know that I could specifically call out one individual whom I will not, but the amount of time he spends taking photos, he's looking at his phone and he's on the phone and he's outside the airplane that he could not afford to rent, frankly, and definitely does not own. And then the Rolls Royce that, again, he couldn't afford to rent. Maybe for an hour, he might be able to slide by that one, but certainly is not his Rolls Royce, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you go to his website and you're like, oh my God, this thing's amazing. These are the folks that tend to be the brokest. So here's what I would say to that is you've got to see it as a phase one, or I would encourage you can do it in multiple different ways, but here's the way I teach it and I encourage you to do it. Think of your brand as building it in phase one, phase two, phase three. Phase one is you've got to go and make some bloody money, get some results for some clients, and start getting somewhere, right? Again, don't be the guy or the gal that spends all their time taking these ridiculous photos. Don't think for a second that the business owners don't see through it. I mean, that's not to say you shouldn't get some professional photos done and whatnot, but again, spending too much time, I think it becomes abundantly clear that you've got too much time on your hands, and that's not a real phone call that you're taking outside the plane, walking with your model hand in hand. But anyway, so think of it as phase one, phase two, phase three. Or in fact, let me just answer it direct. Here's what I would do if I hadn't got started yet. The easiest thing to brand is your person. Okay, so Tony Robbins would not be Tony Robbins if he didn't promote the hell out of Tony Robbins. And because he's done such a good job over such a long period of time, Tony Robbins could sell dog poop and we'd all line up to get it. Or most certainly the lineup would be around the block and people would be willing to pay an enormous amount of money for something that's totally useless, right? As in dog crap. So how has he done that? Because he built up his brand so well. So the easiest thing to brand is your person. So like if I started, let's say I was building a membership site, right? Like with our clients, we build a membership site, or like call it an online business academy, 52 weeks, step-by-step instruction, over 200 hours of instructional video on how to go about building a business. Well, I would call mine, let's call it KarlBryanUniversity.com. Now, the challenge with that is that I could never sell it, right? Because your name's not Karl Bryan, so you're not going to want to own KarlBryanUniversity.com. So that's a drawback. But remember, I'm just getting going, and I've got to get to the point where you'll line up around the block to buy dog poop from me, right? So initially, I'm promoting the heck out of Karl Bryan. That is everywhere. It's on my marketing material. It's under my photo. You want to get one really kick-butt photo. Like with me, what you'll see, if you look online and whatnot, I pretty much use two photos. There's one with me in a pink shirt and one with me in a gray suit with my hands in my pocket and a big smile on my face, right? So I just use this. If you look through the magazine, like you'll only ever see two photos of me because, again, I'm trying to get people used to seeing those photos, right? So you're branding your person. Phase number two is now you're making some money, you're getting somewhere, so now you're starting to brand a company. So like in Tony Robbins' case, it's Robbins research, I believe he calls it, right? So now you're moving into a company, and now you can move away from the Karl Bryan University, like only your name, and start, promoting a company, because now you've got some, street cred out there. And then phase 3 is where you look at expanding and doing, something that's going to be like a higher level play, right? Because you've got the brand, you're looking to sell or to structure in such a way that you could sell. But in phase 1, remember Karl Bryan University, you could never sell that. So that's what I'd encourage you to do is think, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, but make sure you keep your eye on the prize. Like, remember, I get asked this question. You guys have heard me say this before. If you followed me in any way, I can't begin to tell you the power of it, though. But don't ask me, like, if you ask me what to do, I will always come back and ask you one simple question, which is, what do you want? Right? Like, that's really where you start. And I'd be amazed if what you're looking to do is to build, well, actually, no, I take that back. Look, it's your journey, not mine, right? So what you want is what you want, but get very, very clear. And the clearer you can get with that, the easier it's going to be able to work out what you should be doing. And if your goal is to sell $100 million company, your company for $100 million, you're absolutely going to have to go into branding. If you're like semi-retired, you just want to make 150 grand a year, run some live events, help some business owners, not have to dip into your savings for another 10 years because you want to, you plan to live to be 120, and you want to ride out, into the sunset without any money problems ever. Again, it's a very different structure, a very different game plan. And the best way to brand yourself, and this is going to be painfully obvious what I'm about to say, but ultimately putting results on the board for your target audience, that's how you really build a brand, right? That's how, just with my emails, no doubt if you get my emails on a daily basis, or I hope certain, you listen to the podcast, and obviously, you've read it, we get an enormous amount of unbelievable feedback on this podcast. The best way that I know of to brand yourself is to put out excellent content. So when I write an email, it's not, I don't just scrap it together, and certainly there's some grammatical errors. That's definitely the case, right? My English teacher would be very disappointed. But at the end of the day, though, I like to think that I put my heart and soul into pretty much every single one that I put out there. And believe me, they take some time. And those things I have written there's never been a single word written in those emails that I did not type with my own fingertips. And I've done that intentionally. At the end of the day, my job is to put out value, end of story. And Tony Robbins, his attitude is exactly the same. Like, if you go to a Tony Robbins event, he does a 4-day event. The only reason he's not up there every single day is because he's overdone it for so long that his voice box is about, literally there's a chance that Tony Robbins at some stage is not going to be able to speak because his voice has been, hammered that badly because he was up there for hours on end speaking for, 50 hours at a time over a few days. So anyway, he's just gone straight to value. The best way, make no mistake about it, to build a brand is to go out there and, put your wares out there, guys. Work your absolute backside off to get results for your clients. That's how you get referrals. That's how you get, whenever I did over 400 local live events, much like my emails, and I'd like to think much like these podcasts, I put my heart and soul into those suckers. Like, when you came, I tell you, if you didn't walk away with two things, one, being educated, but number two, and very importantly, being entertained. How do you get entertained? When they walk in, if you wanted to be entertaining at your live event, would you have music or no? Obviously. If you wanted to be entertaining, would you have music as they were leaving? Yes or no? If you wanted to be entertained, would you have that music really, really soft so they could barely hear it? Or would you have it a little bit louder so that the energy in the room amped up? The answer is obvious, right? If you wanted to be entertained, you're there trying to pump your chest in a way and make yourself really intelligent. Would you be willing to poke fun at yourself or not? The answer, I like to think, is obvious. People love the fact that you'll poke fun at yourself. Humility is a superpower, much like advertising to profit. I believe that humility is a superpower. The most successful people in the world are more than happy to make fun of themselves because they're not worried about what an individual thinks of them because they know what they bring to the table. So again, are you willing to do that? if I wanted to really entertain that audience, would I practice a few jokes? Would I research a few jokes? Would I, like a stand-up comedian, stand in front of a mirror or stand in front of my family or a friend, tell a joke, see if I got a laugh before I showed up and did it to my live audience? Yes. So entertaining and educational, much like you get attention online, these are things that you practice. Well, how you remember, a brand is a reputation. Reputation, if people start talking about you and referring you, and all of a sudden you're doing a bang up job at your live event, so much so that, like, true story, my wife, when I met her, I was living in Australia. I just got back. I was running these live events. And then, like, I met her at a bar, right? We were playing pool, funny story around that. I won't bore you with. But anyway, so I needed, like, at my event, and of course I was trying to impress her. I basically, I asked her, I said, look, could you help me with my event? Because I legitimately needed some help. And then I thought, well, why not bring the little cutie patootie if she'll come at 7 a.m. and do my event with me? Well, she showed up, dead set. The first event, I can't remember exact numbers, but, like, there was room. Like, I was expecting roughly 20 people, and like 45 people rolled up. And there was literally standing room only. And she was like, holy cow. And I don't even know to this day, that extra 25 people, like, I don't know how they didn't know that they were supposed to pre-register, and we fed everybody. So there was a shortage of food. They didn't care. They just wanted to hear. The way that happened is that I had done a series of events, again, weekly, bang, 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 knocking these suckers off. And they heard about it and they showed up. That's brand. That's reputation. That's how you end up with a lineup of people much longer than you thought coming to your event. So what am I getting at? And I'm not trying to pump my chest here, guys. I'm just telling you, like, this is what happened. So, when you're doing it, you want to build the brand. I would ask you, look, what do you want? Start with that. And I think that it becomes painfully obvious what you should do. And at no stage should you go stand in front of an airplane or a Rolls Royce that you don't own and take a photo. Do you know what I mean? I don't think that that's going to come into what do I want, right? It's, again, not that you shouldn't get some professional photos. You should. But I can tell you that, the folks that have really made it in the space and whatnot see that stuff. They just see right through it, right? So anyway, so that's what that's what I would say to that. And you should absolutely be branding yourself, but do it through results and your events and your, clients' referrals and whatnot, as opposed to, really cool websites and that sort of thing. I want to make sure that we define that properly, Road Dog.
So then, to finish off the story with your wife, obviously, aside from getting cheap labor for one event, good job, well done. Obviously, she was highly impressed by seeing you on stage, and obviously led to marriage shortly thereafter. Is that correct?
This is it, bud. See, it works, man. The ultimate sale. Kaboom.
All right, folks, tune in next week for more dating advice from Karl Bryan. You never know where these shows go. Like, it's always something else. And by the way,
Road Dog, seriously though, for those listening, if you do happen to be single, okay, and you are looking for a partner. In fact, one of my beautiful rock stars, a good chance she's listening to this, Glennis Gassman, otherwise known as Gigi. Again, I said, babe, I love her. She's so cool. She comes to all her events. She always speaks on stage. We go to Cancun, got a tremendous amount of energy. But I said, and she just, I'm ready to find my partner, Karl, right? I'm like, Gigi, go do those live events, and you are going to find no shortage of men wanting to take you out on a date. Sure as heck. She started doing that, and her Prince Charming came along, and now he comes to all of our live events too. His name's Alex. Hopefully he's listening, and he's a stud. She's a legend. But dead set, great way to go, and if that's your stick, that's your stick. And maybe you don't want to mix business and pleasure, and that's fine too. But hey, there's my dating advice. Forget Tinder. Go to a live event, folks.
Live events over Tinder. Okay, that's beautiful, man. I haven't seen that pivot before. That's good. I just want to add. You mentioned just sort of what do you want, and if I can just say, and I want your thought on this, because I firmly believe that the reason, if you're stuck in your business, the reason you're stuck is because you really truly can't answer that question with like so much clarity. Yeah. Because once you have the clarity on exactly who you, like what you want and who you want to serve, saying no to other things just becomes second nature, because that's where I can tell you from my
100%.
personal experience, my biggest struggle has always been, oh, shiny object, another quick opportunity to make cash, because I never had that focus and the clarity on exactly who I want to serve, because I was never able to answer the question, what do I want?
It's unbelievable, bud. Unbelievable step. And it's a hard one, isn't it? It's not like you just go, oh, shoot, here's the solution. And you sit down and magically you write down on your paper, here's what I want. Because accept that it's a journey, not a destination, right? Like,
Oh,
that's it. Like, Seth Godin talks a lot about, like, when you go skiing, your goal is not to get to the bottom of the hill. Your goal is to have a bunch of good runs, presumably get in a little bit of shape, possibly improve your skiing style, depending upon where you're at. But the goal is to have a bunch of good runs, right? Not to getting to the bottom is actually not what you want, right? As a rule. So
yeah.
defining that is just a game changer, but it's a journey. It's not one that's necessarily going to jump out. It might adjust a little bit. If it's adjusting too much, I would dare say that you just didn't hit it with the first one. So again, accept that it's a journey, but just define that, and you'll find that what to do becomes significantly more obvious. Game
Yeah,
changer.
it's typically built out of your pain or your challenge or something that you fought through, something along those lines, typically, right? But it does take time. There's no question about it. But once you find it, holy smokes, like it's something else. But now, moving on from that, because I really want to get to this next question here, because I think this is all we're going to have time for. So, and this is very interesting, because I would imagine a lot of people feel this way, Karl. So, like, I really can't wait to hear your thoughts on this. Here it is. I don't feel like I'm getting the results from my coaching company in proportion to the effort. Here's the catch. What is the ROI you should expect from coaching?
Okay, good question. Agreed. The ROI. I mean, that's a difficult one just to pinpoint. I mean, I can't just say, like, here's the ROI. It's not like, when I spend $1 in advertising, there's a certain ROI that I expect, but I feel like a little bit too general of a question with the coaching. But look, here it is. If you don't get what you want, it always comes down to 4 things. Number 1, you didn't ask. Number 2, you didn't take action. Number 3, you weren't specific enough with what you wanted. And number 4, you gave up on the first or second try, right? So take that one to the bank. It's always the way. And I'll tell you this, people, like, what return on investment? What is it really? I think, once again, if you go deep, okay, like, 7 layers deep as an example, hopefully you guys understand what I mean by that. Like, if you tell me what you want, I'll go why 7 times, and at the end, I'll normally get what you want, which is normally going to be happiness or freedom, right? And ultimately, what I don't think you're looking for an ROI. I think you're looking for what your definition of freedom is. And here's more magic. I've got one word for this. If you want freedom, freedom equals discipline. But most people see discipline as a punishment. Most people see discipline as like it represents a bad thing. And I tell you that, if of all that I have, and I'm truly a blessed guy, there is no doubt. It comes back to my discipline. Like, at 5 a.m., I don't have an alarm clock. At 5 a.m., I wake up and I go to work. And it's not because I have to go to work, and it's not, there's definitely a little bit of, what do you call it, a workaholic in me. Like, I mean, I really, but it's not that I'm a workaholic. It's just that I'm totally obsessed with what I do, and I love it. And when I do it, I get unbelievable gains. So I'm just happy to do it. But I can tell you that I wake up at 5 a.m. It's not like I need to wake up at 5 a.m. and go to work, but that's just what I choose to do. But it's the discipline. And because I was disciplined, but unfortunately when I started, or I don't know if it's unfortunate, but reality is that, the discipline, the freedom didn't come immediately. It came significantly later. And it was kind of like, the frog in the boiling water. It was happening for so long and I wasn't really feeling it. But then all of a sudden, kaboom, all the spoils came. Or anybody who's lost weight have seen the same thing. Like, you don't see it, you don't see it, you don't see it, you don't see it. Holy smokes, I'm down 10 pounds, right? Like, it falls off of you. No, it's been a progressive thing over a period of time. So I would encourage you, if you're looking for an ROI, on your coaching. And I just, it's real simple. Like if you get 10 clients at $2,000 a month, that's $240,000 a year. And of course, there's going to be expenses and that sort of stuff, but you're going to be, a solid, dependent upon affiliate fees, but you're making $150,000. You'd be paying very little tax in comparison to your counterparts that work in, the corporate world. And I think you'll be laughing. So like there's, that's the kind of investment. And then what kind of, if you're working 50, the average person, forget the 4-hour work week and all that crap, like as if, right? Nobody's working. I said it on the last, I think, podcast, but you're not working 4 hours a week and getting anywhere. Give me a break. But you really got to enjoy it. And if you don't enjoy it, you're doing the wrong damn thing. Go do something different. You got, quit living your life like you get a second chance, because you don't, right? Go do a career that you enjoy, right? Go spend time with people that you enjoy. So yeah, the return on investment, I think that, I don't know that I like the wording of the question, right? But I understand where it comes from, and I hope I'm doing a good job of, adjusting their thinking, because I really believe that what you're looking for is freedom, because your return on investment, they're frustrated because they're looking for a result, and that result is probably freedom, and it's going to come from discipline, like live events, right? Like if you work with us, we've got a program, Live Event Mastery. I've personally done over 400 local live events. I have a Bulletproof, 100% Bulletproof, as close to magic as you're ever going to get for filling rooms with small business owners and getting coaching clients as a result. The only caveat is that it's hard, bloody work, and it involves picking up the phone for a period of time. At some stage, that subsides big time because of all the hard work that you put in. But at the end of the day, if you just follow that, you're going to get the results. But the challenge is the discipline that it takes to do one event every 2 weeks until you've got at least 10 events under your belt, and ultimately 100. Like if you do that, you can't not succeed at coaching. I'm sorry, that's it. Unless you're a total dog's breakfast and you screw everything up, but you would never get to 100 events if that were the case, right? But the problem, and I've said this before, but people go and do a live event and then they report back as to whether or not it worked. And I'm like, that's like doing a direct mail campaign with 10 letters and saying that it didn't work, right? You've got to do a proper test. Like in the live event world, you've got to do 10 events. Like you want to be entertaining and you want to be educational. Like you think the first time that I got up on stage, I absolutely blitzed it. And I knew what kind of music, and I knew, how to do it and how to make fun of myself and how to open so that I had the confidence, and I also grabbed control of the audience. Like absolutely not. After 400, it was a joke. In fact, Road Dogg, you and I, right? We did a local live event. We did it at the local yacht club. Again, if you've listened to me for a while, you would have heard the story. But the bottom line, we got 100% conversion. That's not conversion to appointment. That's every single decision maker in that room bought coaching. And that was when Road Dogg got going. And basically, Road Dogg, you rode off into the sunset with all the clients. I think we lost one of them. And here's the other bit, guys, is there wasn't 70, 100, 700 people in the room. There was 7 decision makers. Correct me if I'm wrong here, Road Dogg. 7 decision makers in the room. Got all 7, but then 1 dropped off, and you ended up with 6 coaching clients, right? Like that's how it went down. But I've done hundreds of them, so don't think that you're going to do your first, hear that Karl got 100% conversion when he did a local live event, and think that, expect the same results, expect that kind of ROI. It's not impossible, but it's semi-unrealistic. So set your expectations there, and I'll come back to what do you want? Like if you're a coach, what you really want to do is give back. What you probably really want to do is raise the consciousness of the average business owner in your community. What you really want is the people that you're exposed to, or more to the point, people that are exposed to you, to have a higher level of success out there with their business. Well, there's no better way in doing that than standing up in a room, and let's say, again, there's 10 people in the room, 3 of them buy from you. Well, at least you impacted 10 and you got 2 coaching clients. Like this is the kind of value you want to be throwing out to the rest of the world, because it's just, it's the law of averages. It's karma. It's a bunch of stuff, but that's the way to run a business. Really go impact a lot of people, end up with a certain amount of coaching clients who are going to pay you, but this is how you absolutely crush it. And then the reason you don't, there was an example recently, but it's like when you play a hockey game and you get a hat trick. That's 3 goals in a game. My question is, are you now like, oh, phew, I'm out of my scoring slump, and the next game you drop the ball? Or is it because you got a hat trick, you try to back it up with a 4-goal game, right? Like, that's where you got to get to. So when you do a local live event, I find that people take their foot off the gas and want to celebrate the success and pat themselves on the back for a period of time. No, you've got to translate all that discipline, right? And got to have a strategy before you start your first event would be very handy. But once you do a local live event and you crush it, make that fire, like, put that as a flame underneath your butt to get to the second event even quicker and to do even better, right? Like, I think that's the difference there, Road Dog, is that up and down. So it's the consistency and it's the discipline, I think, and which equal freedom, right? Discipline equals freedom. Freedom equals discipline, whatever. But the two are interchangeable, and I think that most miss it. So little bit different answer than maybe what they're looking for, but I think that that's on target with what they're looking for. That's what I think.
So the other thing, if I can, as I like to add my 2 cents, is you know what I like about that approach of every other week of doing an event? It just keeps you busy. It keeps your mind 100%. Occupied. You know, 100%. One of the things I got written right here on my whiteboard, idle time is the devil's workshop. Like, yes. You want to know why you start doubting yourself? You want to know when all these bad negative thoughts creep into your mind? It's when you're just sitting around with nothing to do. Like, you got to be doing stuff, but there's nothing calendared. There's nothing that's happening that you need to get done right away. So you got idle time, and that's when bad things start happening. So idle time is the devil's workshop. That's it.
Agreed. If you see somebody with depression, that, like, if you're super busy, you don't have time to be depressed. Like, depression is the ultimate selfish act because it's impossible to think about others and be depressed. You can only be depressed by inwardly, like, thinking about you, right? So and that's not again, and depression is a very real thing. My big brother committed suicide, so nobody knows better than I, but I'm telling you, it's, being busy is the absolute antidote to, basically any struggle that you would have in your mind. Like, again, I've said this a lot, but if you know what day it is, you're not nearly busy enough. That's it. You're not nearly busy enough. Just crank it to the point where you don't even know what bloody day it is. You don't know when Friday is. And frankly, you don't care because you got too much to accomplish. So there you go.
Beauty. Awesome, man. Another amazing episode, if I do say so myself. And, I am completely biased, but any closing remarks from the man top of the hill?
Closing, I'm going to come back to the 4. If you don't have what you want. Number 1, you didn't ask. Number 2, you didn't take action. Number 3, you weren't specific enough. And number 4, you gave up on the first or second try. There you go.
Beauty. Awesome. All right, everybody. Well, thanks again for tuning into another fantastic episode of Business Coaching Secrets with my boy, King Karl. Again, if you want any more information on how to build your own coaching company, please go to focused.com. And again, as we always say, if you enjoyed the podcast, please share it, right? Anyone that's either an existing coach or someone that you think would be just a fantastic coach. Again, like-minded people, right? As we preached in this episode, like-minded people that love Tony Robbins, people that love that are good at sales, highly motivated. You get it. You're here. You understand. People just like you. And of course, we'd appreciate if you could rate and review the episode. As we all know that all of these iTunes and wherever these are distributed, they put an insane amount of weight towards the reviews. So again, please leave a review if you like what you've heard.
You beauty, Road Dog. Well done, brother. Appreciate you, man. Another good job.
All right, everybody. Thanks, everybody. And again, remember, progress equals happiness.
Karl Bryan built Profit Acceleration Software 2.0 to train business coaches how to find any small business owner more than $100,000 in 45 minutes without them spending an extra $1 on marketing or advertising. This becomes a business coach's superpower. So as a business coach, you'll never again have to worry about working with business owners that can't afford your high-end coaching fees. Check us out at focused.com.